Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Millionaire Mindset Mondays. I'm Jan Carmanico Reeves, your host. We're here every Monday night at 6 p.m. EST, and we have wonderful guests with us every week. And recently, we're talking about partnerships. Tonight, we have Mike with us from Cactus Capital. He's a local Windsor investor. And so, Mike, welcome. Thanks for being here tonight. And do you want to expand a little bit about yourself and tell us what you
Yeah,
got going on?
yeah, sure. So, as you mentioned, well, not born here, but raised here most of my life. I think sometime in my early 20s, I read a book and it wasn't Rich Dad Poor Dad, but it got me thinking about investing in real estate. And before they called it house hacking, I was house hacking a duplex with my buddy. And it kind of just went on from there. I ended up getting hired by a police force and moving around the province quite a bit, and then basically like living, flipping all the way across from here all the way up to like Red Lake, which is like subarctic circle. So
Okay.
I eventually made my way back down here in 2015, and the market, for anybody that knows, Windsor was kind of still up and coming and picked up a bunch of properties for cheap, did flips, Airbnbs, long-term holds, and yeah, just back at it down here and kind of expanding outside of Windsor into kind of smaller communities like Essex and Chatham mainly now. So.
Okay, cool. So what was the book? Because it seems like everybody's first book that they read was Rich Dad Poor Dad.
You know
Well,
what? I want to say it was like creating wealth, but I can't remember exactly. But I do remember something that really stuck in my mind, which was the notion that, getting into real estate was like launching a rocket into space. It takes a whole lot of effort to get that momentum, but once you're up in space, it just, it could be powered by the breath of a baby or something like that. I remember that, and I was just like, "Oh, that sounds really good."
I want to
Passive
do that.
income sounds
Yeah.
really good.
Very cool. Very cool. And
Mhm.
now, have you read Rich Dad Poor Dad?
Oh yeah, I've read
Yeah.
the whole series and a whole bunch of other books and a lot of mentorship and coaching as well. So it's been
Yeah.
quite a journey. And
Yes.
really now just really focusing on the business development side of it. I've got a pretty good grasp of how to buy low and sell high and all the different kind of avenues you can get into, but more now looking at the marketing side, the operations side, like project management, like working on the business instead of in it.
Right, right. And you're pretty active in doing flips recently. That's
Mhm.
kind of been your
Yeah,
thing.
I like flips, especially in a recovery phase or even a kind of a lower, lull in the market. But I mean, you can make money kind of all over the place if you're buying right. So the methodology is just have multiple exits, right? So you're either wholesaling, wholetailing. I actually really like the idea of wholetailing, but my problem is I get started and then I keep going and it just becomes a flip. But having multiple exit strategies is important.
Absolutely. Yeah, because sometimes you might have to buy and hold if something shifts in the market or yeah, if you can't make
Absolutely.
money. Yeah, that's a possibility too. So, yeah, I guess you already mentioned about mentorship and
Hmm.
coaching. That's the one lesson or the insight that you've learned from.
For sure. Like the shortest point, from not knowing to knowing, I think is having someone hold your hand and kind of guide you through it that's already done what you're looking to do, right? You can certainly fumble through it and make tons of mistakes. And, I was recounting to somebody about a $10,000 mistake and just not shutting my mouth after starting a negotiation. And, it was a blooper on my part, right? Like, and it could be something as simple as that, just a little tip, from someone that's done a better job at something that you're looking to learn. So, yeah, I totally value that, and I think that's how we met is through Wealth Genius, of course. And
Right.
but yeah, I've also got another mentor from that was local to here, Ben Humble. So I'm learning a lot through all of that and just trying to really get momentum and traction and also expand into the US market because of course everything's 10x over there. So
Right, right. Yeah. But and that's really important, the well, and your network that you gain from being part of these communities as well, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just incredible. Like the people that you meet and then being around people that have the same mindset, right? That, a lot of people, when I mention what I do, are kind of like, I wouldn't say they're naysayers, but they're just skeptical or they're just kind of trying to be like, are you sure you want to take on this much risk and whatever? And I'm like, yes, 100% I do,
Yeah.
because when you see the wins, right, when you've experienced that, then you realize that a lot of people are just fearful because they don't have the knowledge or they don't have the experience.
Right. And well, the more knowledge you have, the less risk that's involved, right?
100%.
But
Yeah.
yeah, people who aren't investors, that's the first thing they always say, isn't that risky?
Hmm.
Well, not really the way we learn how to do it, right? It's
Yeah, I
well,
think like, risky now, going back to rich dad is just, hoping that you're going to have your job for 30 years, right? Like one source of income, hopefully that, a company doesn't go under or an industry doesn't collapse. I mean, look at what's happened in Windsor in the past, right?
cigarettes.
Look at tariffs, look at
Yeah.
political
COVID
change,
lockdowns.
taxation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So there's a lot of risk in, just basically trying to have a one source of income and squirrel away money, you know, in an RSP. I think that that's just like a really risky plan.
Yeah, and people are just brainwashed, right? Like they don't I always anybody I'm talking to about real estate investing, I always tell them to start with read the RRSP secret. Like we're just brainwashed. Pay down your mortgage and buy RSPs and you're going to be golden.
Yeah, but that's dead money. And I mean, you have absolutely no control over that. Like
Mm,
from what I've seen and well, again, Trump does, puts out one tweet or whatever, and it's just markets or industries can collapse, or the opposite. Elon Musk says something and everything goes crazy, right? So I like the bricks and mortar, holding hard assets, especially in an inflationary period, right? Like I think right now is kind of the perfect storm. If there are tariffs like coming, then the cost of everything will go up, including real estate, right?
mm-hmm.
We're bound to make money that way, people that are holding assets. And then if, we have an inflationary kind of period and which leads to a recession, then they're going to cut interest rates, which is more buyers. So again, it just seems like it's the perfect storm.
Mm-hmm.
But again, if you're not into following that or not experienced in the real estate cycle, then it just seems like all doom and gloom, right? But
But and the thing is, like you don't lose money unless you sell the asset, and that's the
right.
thing. You never set yourself up to have to sell, right? So if it's a down market, you don't sell, you buy. You buy more,
Exactly. Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah, and sit on them. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, it's um yeah, trying to explain to people that it's not risky. It's, they just yeah, it's they don't know what they
Right.
don't know, right?
Yeah. Well, I think it was Warren Buffett has said, be greedy when others are fearful and be fearful when others are greedy.
Agree.
So
Absolutely.
it's go against what everyone else is thinking and doing. Because really that's when the biggest shift in, wealth happens is when a market crashes and somebody's making money on it, right? So
Yep. Yep. So why not us or why not people that we can help make money in real estate, right? It
100%.
as the passive partners, if people want to invest, this is a great time. There's lots of opportunities out there and people should leverage our knowledge and what we've learned and
Yes.
yeah.
As the passive partners, and there's nothing stopping them from gaining that knowledge through kind of watching what happens with the active side and then
Mhm.
taking that on in the future if they so choose.
If they so
Um,
choose. Some people just don't want
some
anything to
people
do with
don't,
it, right? They just want great
but
returns.
yeah, and I think a lot of people also don't know that you can hold you can put your investment of RSPs into a private mortgage
Hmm.
and set your terms and
Right.
be backed by something, that is an appreciating asset, generally speaking.
Yes, yes, it's absolutely. Well, I mean, and if it's in a mortgage, then they're, if they're in a first position mortgage, then they're pretty secure.
Yeah,
Right? Yeah. Um,
100%.
and I think sometimes they don't understand too. It's still under the RSP umbrella. Like they're not
Hmm.
cashing them in to invest them. It's just they're controlling what they're invested in through.
Well, yeah, and I mean, if you're getting, I don't know, like lackluster returns of even 5 to 6%, you calculate in, inflation, like how much are you actually earning? Really, your money's kind of just going away and evaporating. So you should be looking for that double-digit return, which you're going to get through a private, lending situation.
Right, right. Yeah, it's a great way for people to make money. And I like we know all this stuff, and I just want I just want to help everybody. When I hear, that they're locked in GIC or,
And
something like
yeah,
this, and I just like, oh, how much more money you can make
yeah,
but it's securely, just as secure. But anyways, that's
100%.
I guess. I keep talking to them. I just want to help everybody when I see them in that situation.
I agree. And yeah, it's a big education piece. And I think more and more people are becoming aware of it, but it's not conventional wisdom just yet.
Yes, yes, and people like to do what they know, even if it's not, lucrative. They just feel safe in one way if they don't know how the other works, and that's why I like to educate people, just to try to help them.
Well, 100%. And then like something as simple as too, like your management expense ratios. A lot of people have actively managed funds and they're taking 3%. They're like, oh, it's only 3%, but it's just like it is a crazy amount of money that you're losing. And then you factor in inflation, you're making like zero. So
Absolutely.
that's
And the
crazy.
funds themselves, not just your broker is charging the 3%, but it's the fund managers within the
Yeah.
funds that are making huge amount. And it doesn't matter if the funds go up or down, they're still, the fund managers are still getting their salary.
Hmm.
Big salaries, right? And that's where all your money's going. But anyways, read the RRSP Secret. And
Yeah.
that was one of the first books that I read after Rich Dad Poor Dad. And I thought, oh, that got me going.
100%.
So, talking about partnerships,
Mm.
or to talk about partnerships, in your opinion, what's the key to a successful joint venture partnership?
I think it's just a clear expectations and communication, right? Just laying out everything there and ensuring that everything's backed by a legal agreement and have, your exit strategies in place and making sure that everybody knows what is expected of either party.
Yeah, yeah, true. Just yeah, being transparent, right? And maybe making them aware of there is potential risks, or there is potential to go longer than anticipated. Just making sure that they're aware of that when they get into the agreement, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. You might think something will take 3 months and it ends up taking 6 months or uh,
I am living it right now.
yeah, because I mean that's real estate investing, right? Nothing ever goes according to plan, but that's what we learn. We kind of build those into our projects so we know that there will be time overruns and possibly cost overruns, and we have to be set up for that and still run the numbers so that they'll work with those in place, right?
Yeah, as they say, you make money when you buy.
Yeah, yeah, make money on the buy for sure, for sure. Um, yeah. Um, so what are your long-term goals in real estate?
Ooh, I want to retire.
Yeah.
No, I mean I do, but I really just want to build this out and get enough of a cushion so that I can, travel. I have a goal working with Wealth Genius as well to build schools in Sierra Leone through Freedom Tree. I'd like to go there and physically do that. I've always wanted to go to Africa. I think that would be really cool. But I just want to travel around the world and teach jiu-jitsu and learn and, you know,
Fun.
also manage my business and, have that freedom lifestyle.
Yeah,
So laptop lifestyle, I should say, not freedom. But yeah, it gives you the freedom to have, different choices, live wherever you want to live, you know. So
yeah, and
it's also a cool
travel
thing.
and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, spend more time with family for sure. So you're planning to go to Sierra Leone to
I
help?
am. I've spoke to Alfonso and Helena about it, so it's just a matter of timing, right? So I'm sure there's going to be lots of projects going on down there. So
Right, right. Yeah, that's a wonderful project that they're doing down there. It's very cool.
mm.
Yeah. Yes, that would be very exciting. My daughters and I, my oldest daughter was home a couple of weeks ago and we were talking about doing a girls trip and we're talking about, and this is part of the freedom of real estate investing. So we're talking about doing a safari.
Where?
Um, well, we're not positive yet, but we're looking into it. Summer of 26.
We got some time.
Yeah, yeah. We've already started looking into it. There's different tour groups and all kinds of different things to yeah, be able to do. But yeah, that's the beautiful thing, right? About time
Just
freedom.
time freedom. Yeah. Yeah, I had a friend that did that. He just took a whole year off and he traveled the whole world. Um, and one of his things was going on safari. So that
Yeah.
would be pretty cool.
Yeah,
It's
that's always been on my list. And we were talking about what can we do that would be fun and talking, about different countries and stuff. And I said, what about a safari? And they're both like, yeah, let's do it. So yeah. So anyways, that's
it would definitely be an experience.
yes, yes, we're all very excited to get that going. So what do you got going on right now?
Oh, I'm in the midst of a couple flips. As usual, there's always flips going on, and looking at just again building out the business, expanding that in terms of hiring staff, salespeople, um, working with a VA now in the Philippines. So it's like trying to build systems and trying to get things in place through online marketing as well to find off market deals because the retail market's a little bit tougher to make the profit in. So I've experienced that firsthand. Traditionally now I'm just buying through wholesalers,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm looking at building my own sales pipeline or marketing pipeline to have deals come in, as well as looking for passive partners that want to um, you know JV in different projects. And ultimately, I'm taking all that active income and I want to put it into a larger multifamily.
Hmm. Yeah,
So that's kind of my strategy is just use active income to sink into
to scale. Yeah.
multifamily and value add, always value add.
Hmm. Hmm. So, are you looking yet for multifamily or not quite there?
I am. I'm just, I'm just trying to compile a whole bunch of capital to get to that point. But it's challenging even with the valuations in Windsor, which are traditionally like undervalued compared to other parts of the province. So I'm
Hmm.
looking at other places like Edmonton, which I'd like to go to expand in Edmonton and tour some properties there. Um, Saskatchewan looks good, certain towns. So like getting out of my comfort zone where everything has to be in my backyard, right? And trusting, and building a team of people that I can trust, you know, to do work remotely.
Right.
But I'm also looking at Cleveland. I'm also looking at Detroit, Scottsdale, or Phoenix. So there's so much more, it seems, opportunity over there. And then you've got, asset-based lending, those DSCR loans, which, granted you're paying in American funds, but I just think that there's a lot of opportunity in the States and you're getting a lot more landlord friendlier states, right? And with those loans, it's more based on the building than it is your own um, credit score and financials. So I like I like Ohio. I like Florida. I like Texas. I like Arizona. I really like Arizona. But yeah, it's just trying to figure out exactly where I'm gonna pounce on next.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's it. There's lots of opportunities out there. So what that and like you said, the only challenge about going out of your own backyard is building your team,
Yeah.
right? So that you can yeah.
That's the more onerous part, it seems, but like from what I've seen other folks do, is like you get a really good realtor that you can trust, and then generally they have a good team of people that they can kind of put you in contact with. But
Mhm.
it's establishing that relationship and not being so transactional. Like I've seen a lot of people kind of just bounce around from person to person and get what they need, and then there's just no kind of loyalty. So
Mhm.
I find like maintaining those relationships and developing them, you're going to get like everyone's going to win is
Right,
the objective, right? So
right.
long-term relationships and maintain growth that way.
Or partnering with somebody who already has investments there and
100%.
yeah, they have
And
the
I've met some cool people, like obviously through Wealth Genius, but like going to some of these boot camps out of state or out of province here, going to the States, and you just see what other people are doing. Like I went to Vegas and there was like guys doing pad splits. I met a guy from Alaska that's, doing multifamilies, and like you're developing those relationships and friendships, and they're like, "Hey, I got this other deal coming up. Like, are you interested?" And so
Mhm.
it's really cool because it opens up your eyes to a whole new kind of world of investing. I met some folks on a cruise that are retired nurses, and they're investing in Playa de Carmen,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah,
which is really hot, and the cash flow is crazy, for Airbnbs and that sort of thing. So I mean, I guess you got to just kind of go out and network and step out of your comfort zone and meet folks and see what they're doing and get inspired and then take action.
and take action. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
a good
and
start.
I guess the thing is, like there's lots of shiny objects, right? And so you really have to narrow
Totally.
down and decide what you want to do.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and again, like Detroit's in our backyard, and I'm kicking myself because I listened to the wrong people back in 2015, but I'm like in contact with a guy that flipped 600 houses in Detroit, and I mean, they were buying them for like literally you could buy them on credit cards.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like nobody could really foretell like what was going to happen with, Dan Gilbert and basically the revitalization of Detroit. But, there's so much opportunity with Airbnbs down there now. The cash flow is crazy.
Yeah.
Whereas again, you're not seeing that in Windsor per se, or some of these other markets because of regulations and rules and everything else. It's an ever-changing and evolving thing.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah, and there's different regulations and like even in Detroit that those regulations could come in too to prohibit Airbnb as well.
Yeah, so you have to be able to pivot, right?
Mhm.
So again, that comes back to like make sure you have multiple exit strategies and you're buying at the right price, and you're not stuck with something that isn't as fruitful as it once was, right? So
Well, yeah, it could be not as fruitful, but will it still cash flow if
yeah,
you have to flip it to long term or a long term rental, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, but that's the power of networking, right? And coaching and education is that we learn all these things and how to mitigate the risk is
Hmm.
essentially, yeah. Um, and why it's a really good idea to invest with experienced investors that have the education, for first project, second project, to leverage our knowledge and expertise so that people can avoid those $10,000 mistakes, right?
Yeah, if it
Or
was
more.
only $10,000 mistakes,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
sometimes they're much, much more if you're, kind of inexperienced, right? Or
Mhm.
overpaying. I think again, people buying retail is it's a tough proposition to make the kind of money that you're going to make
Yeah.
otherwise.
Yeah.
So,
And that's another advantage we have is the off-market deals, right? Like my youngest daughter is starting to get into looking for a house and I'm like, listen, I got deals coming across my desk every day. Just let me know. We'll go.
yeah.
Let's go shopping, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I bought a place that it went through two, like basically middlemen. And they captured $120,000 worth of equity just flipping the contracts, which is insane.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's where the light bulb went on for me. I was like, I got to find these deals myself.
Yeah.
So how do you do that, right? Is the next question.
Yeah.
And this goes down the rabbit hole further, but it is having those systems in place and the marketing in place to get there because it's worth it. I mean, one deal can be hundreds of thousands that
Yeah.
you save. So
Yeah, yeah. Just my latest acquisition, it was retail, mind you, but because I knew the value of it, I got 55,000 on the buy. The appraisal came in 55 over purchase.
okay.
Price. So that was pretty sweet,
Yeah,
on a retail.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah,
multi?
yeah, yeah. That was small multi. Yeah, yeah. So,
Like it.
but yeah, those are the kind of things that we learn, right? To be able to
See value?
yeah, yeah, see value. And I also knew that even though it was a new build, the rents were under market. So that's why in this case, I only took out the 2-year mortgage so that I knew I could bring up the value enough in 2 years to get my investors back, full return of capital.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. I mean, and the one that I'm working on right now, I bought it and it was listed as a duplex, but it turned out it was a triplex.
Yes, yeah,
Nice. So I'm
yeah,
going to expand on it a little bit and then just refi the whole thing and it'll cash flow like crazy. And yeah, it's just instant kind of equity.
built in, yeah, on the
Yeah.
buy. And that's what they teach us to look for, right? Those kind of scenarios. So
Absolutely. Or being able to see the potential of adding something else. Like maybe it's an ADU, or maybe it's just, it's another suite somewhere, maybe the basement can be utilized or, there's just all kinds of options that once you get that eye for it, you can really add value.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
I
That's
love
like,
about it.
yes, exactly. That's like this place that I bought that has um the two garages with the studios above them, but at some point I'll look into converting those garages into units as well.
ADUs, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, so that'd be two.
that's awesome.
But yeah, so I mean, there's more value add to that property as well. So yeah, but those are the things that we learn, and those are the things that
Creating money out of thin air.
exactly, exactly, having an eye for it and having the knowledge to be able to look for those kind of things.
I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah, yeah. So what's right now you're looking at your triplex to add on to that?
Hmm. Yeah, so I'm considering a bunch of different options. But I think from what I've seen, you know, it has the potential to, boost the value. Well, it'll double the value if I add on to it for probably, an extra 50,000 and adding, another couple hundred square feet of space. So it's just again crunching numbers and then figuring out how much work I'm going to do, how much trades have cost and that. But like to me, it's no brainer. But buying it off market was what made that difference, right? So
Right. Yeah. And then looking at the highest and best use.
yes,
Hmm.
100%.
Hmm.
Under you, like it wasn't, I guess it was an older fella that just wanted to get rid of it. He was in his 80s and just really didn't care. Long paid off. And yeah, a lot of cosmetic things that just hasn't been updated in decades. So, you know, having the eye for that and just really bringing the value up and the rents are pretty decent in the area for like, especially for a brand new refurbed unit. So I think it'll be a pretty big win that way. So I'm pretty excited. I think that one's going to be a long-term hold because ultimately, unless things change with this new political party where we do have the capital gains deferred, which would be incredible. I mean, the states has enjoyed that for years, but if we do have that, then perhaps flipping will become even more competitive than it already is. But real wealth is built through the hold, right?
Right, right.
So you need a few of those in your portfolio, I think, you know, to spin off that cash flow. And
Yeah, the long-term holds. Yeah,
yeah,
flipping's great for some immediate cash flow, but
but ultimately, if you're getting chopped in half,
right, right.
50%, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a lot. So
Yeah, and you're also risking what the government is going to what the new
really,
administration is going to do with yeah, the capital gains on stuff. So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's a tough proposition, and that again, that's why like a lot of folks, it seems like are investing in other countries, right? There's just there's different tax laws where you can, roll that 1031 exchange in the States, where you can roll it into your next investment and defer your capital gains, which is crazy when you think about the opportunity to compound your,
Mm-hmm.
your gains. So,
Well, they are talking about it.
yep, we
Yeah,
shall see.
we shall see.
I know who I'm voting for.
Yeah. We shall see. That's all part of the game too, right? Is you got to keep abreast of NCMHC rules and how those are changing and just all
Mm.
kinds of things that we have to keep abreast of too.
But to touch on that too, it is telling that, given that's, the government is supporting things like programs like MLI Select, it just tells you that if they're incentivizing folks to go out there and build more housing, that and we already know we're in a massive housing shortage.
Mm.
But for the people that don't know that, you can get these longer amortizations up to 50 years, 95% LTVs, as long as it meets certain criteria, which keep changing, but the
Yeah,
affordability, the
yeah.
accessibility, you know, and efficiency, right? So it's an interesting time to be an investor, but a lot of people again don't know, like they can't even kind of comprehend how they would come up with the capital to buy a multi-million-dollar property, right?
Mm.
Or build one, which is even more kind of onerous. And like again, that's what we're focusing on as, Wealth Genius members and how that's done.
Putting those deals together, bringing people
Hmm.
together to put those deals together so everybody wins.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It isn't a simple thing.
It is not a simple thing. And then again, I go back to, people leveraging our knowledge, education, expertise, our network, because we know the people who know, the ever-changing rules with CMHC and how to pivot and how to have multiple exit strategies, multiple financing strategies, all those kind of things.
Mhm.
Yeah, the more you know.
Yeah, yeah, and it does take quite some time to get that knowledge base, right? I mean, just when you figure, okay, I understand all of this, something changes,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
that's
Absolutely. But with our network, we can reach out to multiple people and say, okay, how are you, dealing with this change? What kind of strategies are you using? And that's how we keep abreast of the situations, right?
it's an amazing group,
Mm-hmm. It
life changing.
life changing. Yes, life changing it is. Yeah, like they say, your network is your net worth, right?
Yes, and I know now why they say
Yeah,
that.
because it really is true. We can reach out to so many different experts in so many different fields to be able to help us mitigate risk
Hmm.
and pivot when necessary,
Yes,
right?
indeed. Heard
Yes,
it.
yes.
It's a household term
Yes, yes,
around here.
Yes, it is. So, what are you looking for right now, Mike, in a partner for your deals coming up?
Um, well, like I said, I'm definitely looking for passive partners that want to expand their portfolios and or, you know, uh, lend at a preferred rate for them between the 10 and 15 mark. So yeah, I'm always looking for partners because there is enough deal flow coming my way. It's
Mhm.
just like eventually, as you know, even if you have $1 million sitting in the bank, it's like you need the cost for the down payments, you need the cost for the deposits, you need the cost for the renovations, and you can't do that indefinitely.
Right.
Like the great thing about this is with a joint venture partnership, you can have an active partner that's managing the whole thing from beginning to end, and you can have that passive partner that owns a share of equity, or they can come in as just, a lender. Um, so yeah, that's the way to scale.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm focusing on now mainly is developing out that side of things, in addition to getting more deal flow and then all the operations, which is which is always a challenge, right?
Right.
Finding good
Yeah.
people to do the work and manage the projects and so on. So,
That's your expertise. Yeah. And
mhm.
yeah, trying to bring people in to help them make money. Right.
Yeah, and everyone does. So it's, like in my I don't know, 20 some odd years that I've been on and off, but more lately, just been making great connections with people, but things change and you got to pivot. And but ultimately, I'm always looking for, new projects and new partners. So
So if anybody has any off-market deals or if
yeah,
anybody
100%.
has money that they want to invest.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Haven't lost a dime.
Yeah.
Everything's been successful, so that's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the uglier the better. That's
Right.
our motto is we buy houses, we're not picky. Cactus
Yeah.
Capital.
That's true. Cactus Capital. That's awesome. Yes. That's great. So, any words of advice you'd like to leave our listeners with or
Ooh, um, yeah, just get as much knowledge as you can, but don't get overwhelmed with analysis by paralysis by analysis, I guess.
yeah,
Like get a mentor, get somebody that's already done it. If you're new, completely new to it, and then take action, right? Like
mm,
you have to pull a trigger at some point because if you just sit there on the sidelines, deals will pass you by and you'll be like, oh, I wish I would have bought like it's almost like Bitcoin. I wish I would have bought it when it was like $200.
right,
Same
right.
thing with
Yeah,
real estate, right? Like, oh, I
yeah,
wish I would have bought in 2015.
yeah.
It's, now's a great time to buy. There's, a great book called The Real Estate Cycle. I've got it around here somewhere. I think it's by Don R. Campbell, and it can be a little bit tough to read because it's just all the different, indicators of what, makes a market. But when you kind of understand that, you can kind of see where you're at in the current state, and then you can kind of adjust your approach to buying and or selling, right? So you
Right.
always want to be in a position. You never want to be in a position where you have to sell, right?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
it's like, can you buy at the right amount at the right time? Which I would argue that there's always a good time to buy because there's always deals out there. It's just, what's your exit strategy? So again, partnering with someone that understands like multiple exit strategies, if you're a first timer, and yeah, just build a good team of folks and get going.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of people I've talked to who want to invest, they want guarantees. 100% guarantees. Well, you can't get that in real estate, right? Like you
Can't get that in anything.
no, you can't get that in anything, but you can't get 100% definitive timelines. You can't
Mhm.
get, 100% dollar amounts. I think if you are looking at investing in real estate, you have to trust the working partner, that
Mhm.
trust their expertise, their knowledge, their timing, because maybe it was a flip, and maybe you want to hang on to that for another 6 months, and maybe you end up doing some short-term rentals on it because the market's a little low and you want to, extend the period. So yeah, you just have to trust the active partner that they know what's best for the deal, and will act accordingly.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Just managing expectations, I would say, is pretty important, and understanding, like, and looking at what their past experience has been, right?
Past
So,
projects. Yeah.
yeah, like this
Yeah.
is what we traditionally buy. This is the buy box, right? I
Yeah.
buy these kinds of properties for at this kind of discount, and this is the kind of finishes, and this is how long it takes. But again, you open up the
Generally,
wall, and it's like,
generally, yeah. Yeah. But if somebody's giving you guarantees, then don't trust them because there are no guarantees,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Things,
But that being said, real estate's fairly, I think, one of the most secure assets. And when you read that book, or if anybody reads that book, it just talks about like things like, immigration or net migration to your area, unemployment. Like, so when you factor in some of these things, like what's going on in the town, like don't look at just the whole macro. Like
right.
Canada's, real estate market's doing this. It's like look at the micro level and see what's going on in the place that you're living in and or investing in, because
Hmm.
it can be drastically different from, the rest of the country. And a lot of things are, factors that can determine how in demand real estate is in that area,
Right.
right?
Things like
So
transit, right? Like the
yeah,
around here,
yeah,
the 401 expansion, that's
yeah.
huge.
Gordie Howe Bridge, like is that
Yeah,
bringing more
the
jobs?
mega hospital, like all those kind of things.
Yes,
That those are
the battery plant.
key indicators that Windsor's growing. So
Hmm.
those are things to be considered. But can you put 100% timeline or on it? Again, nothing. You can't guarantee 100% exactly how things are going to play out. Is it a great investment? Absolutely.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
The timing things can be difficult, especially when you've got like political volatility, right? So you just gotta kind of make the best decision with the most amount of information possible, right? So whoever you're partnering with, you'd want to ask those questions, I would think, and ensure they know their exit strategies and, timelines, the
right.
best with the best
Multiple
possible
exit strategies.
information.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because maybe it was bought as a buy and hold, a long-term hold. But if you look at the market, well, okay, let's look at this. Maybe it's best if we sell now. The market's up, there's maybe some capital expenditures coming up. So maybe we should, sell this sooner than later and cash out and
Make
reinvest
more
it in
money.
something else, right?
Hmm.
So
That's exciting.
yeah.
That's sexy, as Alfonso would say.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. But yeah, that's all part of what we learned, right?
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. So if anybody wants to know more about Mike, you can reach out to him what on
Yeah.
Facebook? What
Facebook, Cactus Capital, on Instagram, Cactus Capital Inc., or support at cactuscapital.ca. You can just email me. I'll answer everybody that has any questions or needs more information anytime. Or if they're local to Windsor, if they want to meet up, grab a coffee or something, I'm always open to that as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
being a guest tonight, and
Pleasure.
thank you everybody who's joined in. I'm Jan Carmanico Reeves, your host, and as you know, I'm on a mission to make real estate investing fun, easy, and profitable. We're here every Monday night at 6 p.m. EST. If you'd like to be a guest as well, yeah, shoot me a DM. And again, thanks, Mike, for being with
Thank
us.
you.
And we'll see
Yeah.
you all on the next video.